Welcome back, artists and readers. We are going to be doing another Flat Rosie extension. And the last time we did a Flat Rosie kit, we created our little library gnome and the Library of Things at the Goodikins Public Library. So this week we are going to create a little friend for our gnome and some more little things to add to our Library of Things. So we are going to add our adorable lady gnome, which for those of you who go to the library, you have seen her there. One of the things you can check out at the Goodikins Public Library are cake pans. So we are going to make one of our little containers, our magazine racks that store our cake pans. And we're going to make a cat-shaped cake pan and a cupcake-shaped cake pan. We are going to make an itty-bitty set of colored pencils and pen and pencil. A glue gun, because that's something you can check out at the Library of Things. And we are going to make little stationery. So one of the things that you can do that's really fun is you can write the library gnomes and leave them letters. So we are going to make little stationery. All right, my dears, let me walk you through this. So your kit comes with three things. It is going to come with the stationery template, the Library of Things template, and then the little envelope will have your cut toothpicks, which is what we're going to use to make our little colored pencils, some pieces of aluminum foil to make our cake pans shiny, and a piece of embroidery floss for the glue gun cord. So the very first thing I did was I colored my pieces. This and this are going to create cake pans, so you do not need to color those. This is going to be the back. And you can see that anywhere where I knew there was going to be a fold or it was going to be cut off, I didn't really worry too much about getting in the lines. This and this gives you lots of extra room to keep going. What things do you want to create for Rosie that we don't have a template for? Go for it. So after I colored those pieces, I added some details to the stationery too, just little bursts. One of the envelopes is blank, so you can completely customize it. With this template, there's going to be lined writing paper, a couple pieces of what I thought might be drawing paper to include art, and then I left these little spaces for maybe pictures. Maybe you want to send a little Polaroid or a photograph. So after I got my pieces colored, I bubble cut them, because I always say bubble cut your pieces first. That way you can get really crisp cutting in all those itty bitty little pieces. And as a reminder, I use the back blade of my scissor and I always cut into those little pieces. So after my pieces were bubble cut and then laser cut, I decided to start with the cake pan pieces, the cake pan box, and these three little cake pan pieces. In order to fold my box, I used a ruler or a straight edge. We've talked about that before. And so I folded all my pieces in first, and then I folded them. You can see they're folded in, and then I folded them back properly. This piece, when you turn it around, is going to show. So the very first corner right here, I took my ruler and I drew a line down. And that is going to help create the illusion of that 3D corner. So you can see that I drew that line all the way down. And then I used a color pencil just to add more shading. To create that visual form, I used a value scale and went darker in the corner and then swooped it a little lighter along the edges. And then I folded those pieces, glued the tabs. I made this so that it's not completely flat. That way your cake pans can slide in and out of it a little bit easier. So when you're folding it and you're gluing those tabs, if you feel like it's fighting with you a tiny bit, that's totally normal. That will be fine. And then you can see I just continued to glue those tabs. And bam, now on to the cake pans. I kind of laid out my aluminum foil to see which pieces might fit best. And then using my glue stick, I just glued those pieces onto the foil. The piece with the dots, I didn't put the glue on that side. We're going to use that so that we know where to punch our holes for the cupcake pan. So then I bubble cut those, and the piece around the cake pan, these little tiny notches, if you go ahead and cut a little line that touches your cardstock, that's going to make it easier for you when you push the foil around your template. And then you can kind of see I just added glue stick around the edges, pushed those edges down. You can see here where I cut into it and cut into it and then pushed the edges of the foil around. And then I used the tip of my scissors. You could use a pencil, you could use a toothpick, a bent paper clip. I went ahead and I etched in very lightly some little cake pan details. I don't know if any of you have seen the cake pans that are kind of like molds. So that's what I was thinking about. And then when I got that done, just a very simple shape, I went in and added some more details with a silver Sharpie, but you don't need to do that. Then I took my hole puncher and I punched right on those dots. So this is going to be the top of my pan, and this is going to be the bottom. So then I added a lot of glue stick to the cardstock side. And then I added my smaller piece right on top of that. And there you can see I'm holding it together. You can see the two layers. And the cardstock should show because this is going to be the back. So then when you flip it to the front, kind of looks like you have a cupcake tin. And then again, I added some silver Sharpie details. So then you have your cat cake pan and your muffin cake pan and your cake pan holder. And you can tuck those away and put those on top of your library of things to be checked out. Then I made the colored pencils. And this is probably one of my favorite things in the Flat Rosie kit. So you should have 8 cut toothpicks. In order to create my supplies, I just used marker or Sharpie and colored the base and then a matching tip. To do the pencil, I did the same thing. I just colored a pink eraser and used my silver Sharpie, and then I colored the tip with pencil. In order to make this pen or marker, I snapped off the very tip of this toothpick, and I just used my fingernails and then colored it to make it look kind of like a Sharpie pen, I think. You can do this however you want. Maybe you want more pencils, maybe you want them all to be colored pencils, so that's totally up to you. This one was a tricky one to fold and glue. So again, I used my straight edge and along those seams, folded them all in reverse or opposite. And then I folded them back. And then this is where it gets tricky because I also made this one so that it would be a little bit three-dimensional so that it would hold your little toothpick colored pencil. So when you go to fold this back tab, oh, I almost forgot. I bet I have a picture of it. Since the back is going to show, I gave that a burst of yellow. When you start to fold this, you'll notice that this back piece is longer than this bottom tab. If it makes it easier for you, you can go ahead and just cut more of that tab so that it matches. That's what I ended up doing. But then in order to push this down, I used scissors. You could use a popsicle stick. You could probably use a pen or a pencil. And I put that in between so that it was stabilizing it while I pushed that tab down and held it for a while. And then I did that to the bottom too. And so you can see I'm using my scissors tucked in the container so that I can press really, really hard down on those tabs without squishing the little colored pencil case. And then there you go, your colored pencil case, your little supplies, and you can tuck those into the box. Then to create the glue gun, all I did was take scissors, or you can use a push pin or some sort of poking tool. I didn't want to use a hole punch because this is so tiny and the embroidery floss is so tiny. But I went ahead and poked a teeny little hole. I tied a knot in my embroidery floss and strung it through. And then I ended up adding a little piece of tape to this tail. Then I added a double knot to the back or to the bottom of the thread to kind of create what I thought might look like the end of a cord. And then to create just a little more detail, I colored that black. And then there you go, a hot glue gun that you can add to your library of things. And so there we have it, my dear. We have our charming little adorable lady gnome so that our other library gnome has some company, and our writing supplies and our glue gun and our cake pans. And so then I started with the stationery. You can add bursts of colors to this if you want, but you're going to go ahead and cut those pieces, bubble cut those envelopes. When you cut this, I think with all the lines, it's a little bit confusing. So I think you want to kind of find the border, and then you want to make sure that you're cutting the line above the border so that each piece of paper has that top border and the 3 dots. When I got all of my pieces cut out, these envelopes, since it's just regular printer paper, are relatively easy to fold. So I just folded those tabs straight back. I didn't need to use a straight edge. I didn't need to fold them forward first. And then I glued the bottom of those envelope tabs, pushed it down, and then I was able to write little notes or little pictures and fold them up and put them in that envelope. And then you will have your other envelope, and you can decorate your envelope and your drawing papers and your writing papers and your photograph Polaroid papers however you would like. Maybe Rosie's going to write to the gnome. Maybe the gnome's going to write back. Maybe you have your own idea. And then all your little pieces can join Flat Rosie World at the Goodigans Public Library. And so that is what we made today. Thank you, my dears, for making our lovely little lady gnome and all of our extra little treasures and stationery pieces to add to Flat Rosie World and to our Flat Library of Things. All right, my dears. So now your big idea. And it comes to you very, very teeny. So let's see what our big idea is. Little things matter. So all of our itty bitty little things can help us remember that little things matter. And I'm not just talking about toothpick colored pencils. I'm talking about all the things we say and all the things we do. And sometimes we look at problems and the problems feel so big, or sometimes we have ideas and passions and they're so big and overwhelming that it feels like I'm just a kid or I'm just one person. What difference does it make? All the little things make a huge difference. They all add up. So the things you say, make sure that you're choosing things that are going to make the world a better place. And the actions you take, choose actions that are going to make the world a better place. And maybe you think, well, what difference is that one kind word going to say? Or on the flip side, maybe something that's not so nice. Or maybe you see a piece of garbage, and what's picking up one piece of garbage going to do? Going to do a lot, my dears. You guys are so inspiring, and kids are just my favorite kind of people. And sometimes you might be little, but your ideas and your abilities are so huge, and they make such a difference. And so all those little things matter. Um, so be careful with even the tiniest words and the tiniest actions. You guys inspire me to make the world a better place, just like you guys make the world a better place. And so thank you so much, my dears, for making this Flat Rosie kit with me, and for making this world a better place with all of your little things that you do. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your summer. And I cannot wait to see you, and keep creating and keep reading. And thank you so much. Bye, my dears.